Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about intimacy, and this is like the 10th fucking time I've tried recording this, and I can't get past like the first minute or two because I'm struggling with talking this morning. Sometimes I just have those days where like I just can't talk right. I mean, that's most days, but like this has like been pretty bad this morning, but I wanted to record anyways, so hopefully I make some sense. And like the topic of intimacy is not like a fun thing for me to talk about because intimacy. But let me just get into it. Hopefully there's people out there that can relate to this. I looked up a definition. I just typed intimacy into my phone, and the first thing that popped up, and I'm only reading this because a lot of people, when they hear the word intimate or intimacy, they think that just means sex, and that's not what that means. So the definition I found was intimacy in a relationship is the feeling of being close and emotionally connected and supported. It means being able to share a whole range of thoughts, feelings, and experiences that we have as human beings. And intimacy involves a closeness that is beneficial to both parties. I don't know about that part for me for most of this, but there's 4 types of intimacy. There's physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. And when I used to be a chemical dependency counselor, like this was a topic that I had in rotation in like group sessions because just, intimacy is so difficult for lots of people. And I remember it being really easy to teach. But like when I think of it, like as far as how it applies to me, like it's hard for me to talk about it because it has to do with me. Not that I did with like clients. I never shared that shit with clients, but like it was easier for me to talk about it generally than it is to like share how I struggle with it. I guess maybe that's a better way of saying it. So just start with like the physical intimacy. Growing up, my parents were cold motherfuckers. My mother more so. My dad was like, he was always doing shift work. So like we didn't really see him a whole lot. But my mother, like, oh man, like it makes sense now because like my grandparents on both sides I remember them feeling like cold when I would go visit them. Nobody in the families, like on either side, are huggers. There's like no physical contact. I mean, like, I remember growing up and, like, I would have friends and I would see how they interacted with, like, their parents, and they easily hugged them. I could tell that, like, their parents really loved and cared for them. Like, I didn't have that. It was very, like, okay, I'm supposed to hug my kid now, so let me just get that out of the way. I knew it was not genuine. It felt very fake, very uncomfortable, because I knew it was very fake. And I would just have rather had none than that. When I was upset, there was no embracing me. There was no my mother putting her hand on my shoulder even to try to comfort me. Like there was none of that. So I wasn't taught that can be beneficial. Not to mention I was physically abused growing up. So definitely I do not like physical intimacy. Not just for those reasons, but because it's just like sensory wise. This is like embarrassing, but sex counts as like physical intimacy and I don't really care for it. This is something I've avoided talking about because it's just so awkward. And it's just one of those topics where for years, just the messages can you stop snoring? Hey, wake up. Sorry. It's my cat. I don't want him to snore too loud. Oh, bless you. But growing up, you just get messages from the media and from magazines, women are supposed to be sexy and, they wear lingerie and they exude confidence and they're sultry and what the fuck, man? That's not me. I am the exact opposite of that. You know, like when I wear, like, my bra and panties never fucking match. I'm lucky if I can put 2 socks on that match. No, well, they match usually, but sometimes I'm just too lazy. And I'll just put 2 different socks on, but that has nothing to do with anything. See what I mean? Like, it's just so awkward for me to talk about sex. I don't care for it. The way that I view sex is it's just a waste of time to me. Like, I have better things to do. And that sounds weird saying out loud, but it's true. And I know I cannot be the only one that feels this way. I don't care. It's just like, whenever I've like had sex with, like, how much detail should I go into? I don't know. You can just fast forward if you want, or just stop listening or whatever. Like, I don't know if this is like TMI, but that's kind of the whole point of this podcast. So when I'm I don't want to do that. Let me just say that I don't like it. I do not like it. I always think that, like, foreplay, I've always felt that, like, you know, that's like, how long does that take? 20 minutes or whatever? Like, I could be doing something way more beneficial. Like, I view sex as like a task. That is so, like, not normal. But that's how I would view it. Like, okay, let me just, like, get this done, and then I can go on with my day. And the other person's happy, la la la, good for them. And that's just how it is. Sensory wise, it's a nightmare for me. There's just too much going on. Don't like it. I'm always in my head. I don't like physical touch really anyways. And that's kind of like what sex is. And, it's just like never really been something that I've cared for. You know, like, I guess I could be like asexual. Is that like the term? I'm not good with definitions. Like, I do have sex with my wife sometimes, but only when she initiates it. Like, she knows how I feel about it, and I feel bad. Like, oh man, I'm sorry you got stuck with me. Like, I'm not normal with like this area. So, like, it got to the point where I was like, last year, I was like, look, this is a tangent. I'm sorry. But like, my wife has only ever been with me. And so, like, I feel really bad about that. Like, she didn't get to experience other kinds of like relationships or sex or anything like that. So I was like, last year, I was like, if you want to like get a hooker or something, that's okay. Just make sure they're tested. They don't charge too much. And, you know, just sex. That's it. And my wife was like, what? And I know how weird that sounds. I know that that's fucked up, but I feel bad that, like, I feel like she's missing out because she never got to have like all those different relationships before she met me. And, you know, like, I just feel bad that I am not good at this area, and also that I don't really care to ever be. So it's just weird to say out loud, but it's how I've always thought. And like, I am a little bit more accepting of this now because I know I'm autistic, and like, that just makes me accept almost anything about myself. I don't have to like everything about myself, but I accept most everything. And I just have to deal with the fact that, like, I'm not into sex. I don't like the intimacy. So yeah, I mean, does that explain enough? I'd like to just move along from this subject, but that's how I just don't like it. And like, nowadays, sex aside, I like hugs from my wife. I like firm hugs. I don't like, really light ones. So I don't mind those, but like, other than that, like, I don't really like touch because it is intimate. And because it's just like I said before, it's just a sensory nightmare sometimes. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. I just don't like it. So moving right along to emotional intimacy. This is also one that, like, And when I was a kid growing up, I was also emotionally abused. So I was never taught how to identify feelings, how to work through them in a healthy way. My parents never talked to us about, like me and my brother, never talked to us about emotions at all. We never had those conversations. Like, I was never taught when you're upset, like, this is how you can, like, manage your emotion and work through it. Like, there was none of that. And, like, that's a little bit frustrating. But also, like, I don't know if this area would have changed very much for me because I am autistic. And, like, does that even matter with emotions? Yeah, I think it does. I don't know how it relates, but I've never let myself depend on someone emotionally until Alicia, my wife. Just about every relationship I've had throughout my life has been so superficial because I refused to get involved emotionally with friends, with like, boyfriends, girlfriends back in the day. Like, I just refused, and I did not. Like, it wasn't anything that I remember thinking, like, yep, there's no way I'm fucking doing this. Like, no emotions. I'm not letting this, like, get, I'm not letting these into the relationship. I don't want to get hurt. I didn't remember thinking anything like that. I just had this sense of, like, I'm not going to do this because I don't like being burned by people. Because, like, by the time I left home and I went into the military, I had not had any good experiences. Well, not any. I shouldn't say that. Most of my experiences, emotion-wise, with other people had not been the greatest. And it made me not want to invest emotionally in anybody because I know how hurtful people can be. And so when I was in the military, that's kind of where it started for me. Like, I would not let people in. I would be friends with them, but, like, I held back a lot because I figured that, like, whatever happened in the friendship, for example, like, if something bad happened or whatever, like, I don't know what bad would happen, but, like, if I don't have that many emotions involved in the friendship, then I can't get hurt. So that was kind of like, that's been like a theme throughout my life. I feel like looking back, I'm like, feel super fake. But I wasn't trying to like mislead anybody. I just think I missed out on being taught this stuff. And like, autism or not, this would have been helpful to learn as a kid. I think all kids need to really like learn how to fucking manage their emotions and identify them, and that it's okay to be emotional. So this has just been a fucking struggle. Not to mention, like, the emotional stuff leads to, like, once you get involved, like, if something doesn't go quite right, there's a potential for a meltdown, and don't want that getting out into the public. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so strange to think back on, like, how closed up I was, but I wasn't having, like, thoughts, like, on the surface of, like, this is why I'm doing this. It was just kind of something in the back of my head. But that changed when I met my wife, and not right away, though. It took quite a while, like years, before I would fully invest myself emotionally. Which sounds bad, but that's how scary that stuff was to me. Intellectually, this area is probably the only area of intimacy that, like, I'm okay with no matter what. Like, I love having intellectual conversations. I'll have one with a stranger. Like, when you're standing in line at a store, like, who the fuck cares about the damn weather? Like, if somebody turned around and they were like, I don't know, they brought up something in the news or something and wanted to have like an actual conversation about that, I would have it with a stranger because that's intellectually stimulating to me. I don't care that I'll never see that person again. Like, it's nice talking to them. It's nice hearing like their thoughts and feelings about something rather than just standing there and being like, oh, it's raining outside. Like, no fucking shit, man. Like, I have a phone. I have a weather app. I just came inside and I saw what the weather was like then. And there's a window I'm looking out now as I'm waiting to pay for my shit. Like, don't talk to me unless you have something good to say, basically. And growing up, this was something, again, that was just not found in the home. Like, I feel like my parents just were fucking stupid. That's an asshole thing to say, but they were assholes. So I don't feel bad for saying that. I just feel like they did the best they can. Like, I know they did the best they could with whatever they had. Yeah. But just, they were not very intellectual people. I remember conversations being very fucking boring. My mother, oh my God, like once I got older and I moved out and then like I would go visit and I was an adult at the time. I was starting to have my own real feelings and thoughts and opinions about stuff. And like her and I would get into, like we would go back and forth on something. She would share her opinion about it. I would share my opinion about it. But those conversations never went very far because she doesn't like being disagreed with. So if you don't see things her way and her way only, there's no point in continuing the conversation. Then it just turns into like unhealthy bullshit. So I definitely did not learn any of that at home. There was just like, I feel like a wire monkey. If you guys like, if you ever heard of that study with like the monkeys and the plush dolls and the wire ones, my parents were wire monkeys. Like I had a house, I had clothes, I had food, and I had like my basic needs met. It's just the other shit was apparently not that important. But like, that's why I liked school. Not all of school, but like the classes where you got to debate things and you got to understand other people's points of view. Like, I like those conversations because I often find that my way of looking at something can be a bit better. I don't know if this counts, but when I went to college, when I first started, because I went for criminal justice, I had this class that was like about the death penalty. And at the time, like I was a big proponent of the death penalty. I was like, fuck yeah, man, you kill somebody, you deserve to die too. I thought prostitution was bad. Dry mouth. I mean, I don't think it's bad and I don't like the word anymore. Sex work is better than prostitution. But like I was so judgmental about that stuff. And at the end of college, 4 years later, I did not believe in the death penalty. No matter what. And there's nothing wrong with being a sex worker as long as like the conditions are safe, like my whole outlook on stuff changed because in class there was actual discussions about stuff. And coming from a place where I didn't have any of that unless I left the house and went to school, like college was just way better for me. And I'll talk to anybody at any time about something deep, but most people don't seem to be like that. Like, I understand, like, you see somebody at the store, you don't know them. Like, why would you want to stop and have like a deep conversation with them? And then you'll never see them again. I don't know. I think that there's value in doing that though. I don't know what else to say about that. But I like smart people. I like people that like to have conversations about real things. That I love the fuck out of that. And then the last part, spiritual. So I looked this up just to try to understand this part a little bit more. And I found something that said spiritual intimacy is the process of profoundly connecting the core of one's being to another. That's a big fat fucking no for me. I was an atheist until my early 30s. I was that person when I had Facebook. I was that person that like, if somebody posted something, I'm very sorry if I'm offending anybody right now, by the way. I don't mean to. But if anybody would post something like about God or Christianity or something like that, I would be the asshole that would be in the comments going like, do you know that the Bible is just like a bunch of stories that somebody made up? It's not real. Do you know that a lot of people, like, I'm not going to go into, I really don't want to like offend people, but I'm not like that anymore. When I was an atheist, I was a hardcore atheist. I only connected with other atheists, but like, I don't think that's very spiritual. So that doesn't even count. And once I grew up, I like veered away from atheist. Like, I'm not an atheist anymore. I consider myself spiritual. I don't believe that there's just one God. I know that I feel that there's something, but I'm very like much more open to spirituality than I ever was before. Like, I'm so far removed from being an atheist, it's not even funny. But like, as far as connecting with somebody spiritually, never, ever, ever has that been something that like I've thought of or known that you could do or like even wanted to do. I wouldn't know how to go about that. Spiritual intimacy. Yeah, I don't know how I would go about that, and I don't know. I mean, if that's the definition I'm going off of, then that doesn't really apply to me. And I still distrust people, except my wife, but everybody else, mostly. I distrust people. So like, if I'm not going to open up to them emotionally, I'm not going to involve myself spiritually either, because I don't know, that just feels like a lot. Feels very, very intimate, very vulnerable, and very, very much something that like I have no desire to do. Sorry for the dry mouth. Yeah, I mean, like, that's really all I have to say about intimacy. Physical intimacy is uncomfortable for me. I don't like it. Emotional intimacy, that's like involved. Like, you have to let people in, and who wants to do that? Intellectual intimacy, yes, please. I like to talk. Spiritual intimacy, nope. I'd have to like learn more about that anyways. And right now I have too many things I'm researching and too many rabbit holes that I'm fucking like way down deep in to even like consider this right now. But that's all I have to say on this issue. I think being autistic makes it harder for me intimacy wise. And I'm okay with that. Hopefully somebody out there related to this. Like, if you are not into like sex and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, sorry, I'm just, like, hopefully you related to something, and that I didn't sound creepy or weird, and that I made sense, and that I didn't do too much. And, okay, goodbye.